हेलो एवरीवन, जय हिंद एंड वेलकम टू द प्लेटफॉर्म ऑफ श्रीराम्स IAS। आप सभी का स्वागत है श्रीराम्स IAS के प्लेटफॉर्म पर। एंड इन टुडेज सेशन विल बी डिस्कसिंग अबाउट हाउ टू फिल योर DF2 फॉर द UPSC इंटरव्यू। एंड स्टेप बाय स्टेप यहाँ पर हम आगे चलेंगे। एंड नॉट जस्ट कि कैसे आपको फिल करना है, बट इन दिस सेशन आई विल ऑल्सो लेट यू नो व्हाई दिस DF इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर योर पर्सनैलिटी टेस्ट, फॉर योर इंटरव्यू एट द UPSC। एंड ये ब्लूप्रिंट है, आप ये समझ लीजिए कि आपका जो इंटरव्यू होगा that will be based upon your DF, and that is why it is very important part of your interview process. और इसीलिए ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है, it is very important to understand why and how to fill this DF form while you are appearing for the civil services. First of all, I congratulate all of you who have qualified for the UPSC 2025 PT or personality test, and we will go through that why this DF matters. Now, when it comes to your identity, what is your identity in front of the board? The board does not know you from the past 20 years. All right, when you go into the interview, they don't know what you have done till so far. All right, what you have done educationally, what you have done, in your hobbies or in your achievements, what you have had the achievements. They don't know anything about you, and they are about to know. And they are about to make that perception that, okay, this person is suited for the administrative capability or not. He has that administrative rationality or not. And ultimately, to know about you, they need certain identity document, which will lay down all the facts, all the figures, everything about your persona, your personality, and that is the DAF or detailed application form that you will be filling. And it is very important, because ultimately when it comes to the DF, that will define to the board who you are. Alright, and again, DAF is the most important. I told you it is the most important document in your personality test, because 70% of the questions that will be asked from your DF itself, and most of the interviews, topics and even the depth of inquiry will be based upon your detailed application form. And ultimately, another thing that you have to bear in mind while filling this DAF form or detailed application form is that this is your first impression. And of course, everybody wants to leave a best first impression whenever it comes to the interview. So this is your first impression before even you could speak anything in front of the personality test, in the front of the board. So this is your first impression that will be there in the mind of the board members. Okay, this is a person who is coming next. All right, they will have an impression that will be portrayed by your complete DAF or detailed application form. Now, the well-filled DAF also aligns with the nature of your interview, how it will go on. Because when you have filled the DAF perfectly, all right, a well-filled DAF will lead to the predictable questions. You will be able to predict what questions will be asked next. And ultimately, that will lead to confident answers from your side. And also, there would be a smooth interview flow that you can have in your mind, and ultimately you will do well if there is a well-filled DAF form. At the same time, if you have not filled DAF properly or you have poorly filled DAF, there would be unpredictable grilling by the board that will lead to defensive posture from your end, and ultimately there would be uncomfortable surprises from the board that you will not like. So therefore, DAF or the detailed application form, it matters for your interview or personality test. Now, let's talk about what the board is looking for when it is looking at your DAF. All right, they want to know about your background and upbringing. All right, what kind of cultural roots do you have? Along with this, your early influences that have shaped your values, that is what the board sees. Along with this, they also see your educational depth, all right, academic consistency, whether you have been consistent in your academics, all right, your subject choices, which subjects you have chosen, and even the intellectual curiosity, especially when you are from a technical background. And if you have chosen an optional like PSIR, or you have chosen optional to be anthropology, so you would be asked why you have chosen this particular subject as in your optional, while your background is from technical expertise. So such kind of questions, like I told you, the DAF is a kind of blueprint about what kind of questions would be asked from you and about you. Alright, along with this, the board sees your professional maturity when it comes to your working experience, your maturity, your leadership, as well as your problem solving capabilities will be seen by your different achievements, your kind of hobbies that you have, also any kind of prizes, achievements that you have got so far. So all these things would be looked by the board. Along with this, your interest and personalities, they would be seeing for the genuine hobbies, emotional anchors, as well as intellectual pursuits that you have, and then your service understanding, rational thinking, and public service orientation for your administrative suitability as well, and also your consistency and integrity. That is, if there is a proper alignment that we see in the DF, the entries that you have made, alright, along with this, the honesty, and with even the verifiable claims, and ultimately your consistency and integrity is at the check when you go for the personality test or the interview at the UPSC. Now, the golden rule is that every line that you write in the DEF, that is a potential interview question, or I will say rather that it is 5 potential questions that could be asked. So that is why my suggestion is that whenever you are filling the DEF form, please fill this with honesty, with clarity and a purpose, proper purpose. Each word that you are writing over here, that will invite a board for probing deeper into your personality, into your persona, and that is why this is called as a personality test. Now let's go through step by step. What are the process and what all things that you need to keep in mind. Now when it comes to for the UPSC, there were certain changes that were made, and lots of you must have difficulties while filing or filling the online application during the prelims phase. All right, and ultimately there were certain additions that were made to the prelims form itself, and there were details which were asked, which were usually asked at the later period of time. All right, during the filling of the DF forms. But at the same time, these changes have been made by the UPSC, and you must have to understand that now you are filling filling the DAF2, that is for your personality test. And over here, the first step has to be that you have to review your previous DF if you have filed any. All right, especially for if you have filed just for this one, for the 2025 examination. So you must have the online application that you have filled during the prelims, as well as the DF1 that was filled during the time of the mains. So you have these two, and if you have appeared for the previous attempts as well, then the previous DF as well, you have to keep them side by side. And also you have to check for the contradiction in dates, designations, and the achievements across different forms that you have filled. All right. Along with this, you have to identify the weak spots. The unclear entries must be marked, the vague descriptions and potentially problematic areas. I will let you know why vagueness is not actually commendable while filling the DF form. All right, and then you have to document any necessary changes that you have done. Like for example, you have mentioned anything in your DF1, but now you are mentioning something else in your DF2, or probably there had been an achievement after you have filled the DF1. So you have to see if there had been any necessary changes or improvements in your final submission of the DF2 that you have to maintain, document, because there would be questions that may be asked from those changes that you have made. Now over here, the first step in the first column in your DF form pertains to your personal information. This is personal information section, and over here the board checks what are your cultural roots as well as the regional influence that had, the place from where you were born or you were brought up and you had the education, what those places had the regional influence over you or your personality. Even the socio-economic background context is taken into consideration, the language proficiency, and even the state connections and the district characteristics and the local issues from where you are coming in. All right, now over here, it is not just where your home state lies. It may be some other place as well. Like for example, I will tell you about my case. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Bhavar Singh Suroi. I am ex-NDA 115th course and qualified civil services in 2012. Now, over here, what happened in my case was, I come from, I was born, my father was in army and I was born in Shillong. My father was posted there. So I'll show you that there is a place of birth as well that is mentioned. So I mentioned Shillong. And then I was brought up and my education was done in Meerut from Uttar Pradesh. So that is my hometown or my home district. Now what happened was, during my interview, nothing came up about Meerut. Although Meerut is very close by to Delhi, and I was expecting that at least some questions would be asked about my home district. But instead, the questions that were asked about the district was Shillong. I was asked about lots of questions, the economic issues and even the various the tribal issues that are there in Meghalaya and even the northeastern states. So ultimately, whatever you are mentioning in your DAF, that becomes a grinding ground for your interview, and that is what you have to keep in mind. All right. Now, when we are talking about the filling tips, you have to remember that they have to be zero spelling errors. Please do not commit any spelling mistakes. All right. Also stick to the factual information only and do not overflow the information. Just stick to the factual information over here. All right. Avoid any emotional narratives and justification, and even keep the format clean and even professional. So that is what my advice is. So this is your first column or the first section where you will be filling about your personal information. Like I told you, over here you have to write down your registration ID, roll number, name, email as well as mobile. Now email and mobile, roll number you have to cross check and write the right roll number. Again, for the name, there has to be no spelling mistake. Please cross check your spelling, and the spelling of the name must correspond to the name that is mentioned in your matriculation certificate, in your 10th certificate. All right. For the email and also mobile, please cross check it and only use that email or mobile that is functioning right now. All right. So that you have to keep in mind. The next comes your mother tongue, whatever your mother tongue is. Like for example, for me it is Hindi, so I'll write over here Hindi. Then your place of birth, like I told you. So my place of birth was Shillong. All right. So again, if it is in India, so then the post office, city, town or village, district, state and pin code as well. So all these things you have to mention over here in your second column of the DAF. The next column is third column, that pertains to your father and mother. All right, over here you have name of father, status, the name of mother and status, nationality of both father and mother, then father's and mother's profession. If your father is in service, then the post held by him, or if he retired, then the post that is held by him at the time of retirement. The same for the mother. Then annual income of your father and mother, the state to which your father and mother belongs, and even the district to which your father and mother belongs. So these all details you have to furnish over here. Please remember over here that you do not leave any column or any detail blank. Like for example, I'll tell you, my mother is housewife. So suppose if my mother is housewife, what will I write over here? If your mother is in service, the post held by her, if retired, indicate the post held by her at the time of retirement. So I will not leave it blank, but I will write not applicable. Please do not leave any field blank. All right? Please do not leave any field blank. Remember this. All right? The next comes the address, postal address of your father and also the postal address of your mother, and if deceased, give the last address. And then whether your family owns or possesses any of the following assets. So if they possess, write yes, and if they do not possess, write no. So this is the personal information. Now, why the parental information has been taken from you? All right, let's jump to what goes on in the mind of the board members when they are seeing your parental information. So by going through parental information, they know about the value system origin, and they understand that your formative influences what could be the formative influences that you had through your family background. At the same time, your parents' profession, education, that shapes your worldview, how you see the world, and even your opinion and the values. So, the early influences matter for the board. At the same time, the socio-economic background that provide the context for your journey and even your answers when you are giving it in front of the board. So again, the parental information it matters. Now, when it comes to the parental information that you are providing over here, please remember that keep it factual and simple. All right. State occupation and education, and even in the professional setting and formatting. At the same time, don't do this. Don't go for any emotional narratives. When asked about your parents in the board interview, when you are sitting in the front of the board, so do not go for any emotional narratives, all right, value judgments, and even for the lengthy descriptions when it comes to your parents' information, all right, or parental information. Now, I told you about your address and contact, all right. When we are talking about address and contact, that have to be completely verified. Double check your complete address with the PIN code. Update your mobile. Active mobile number should be, it should be input over here. Email accuracy is very important, and with a clear formatting so that it will prevent any communication error. Now, it is very important to cross-check your address and contact, because any contact that will be made to you will be via these channels, all right? Whether it is by SMS or messages, either it is by email or by phone, or even by a postal correspondence. So that is why these details, they are small, but also, as well, they have big consequences if they have been filled incorrectly. The next step is the educational background. By the educational background, the board checks whether you had been consistent during your academics across the various years, right from your 10th to your 12th to your graduation, and even if you are filling the information about your post-graduation. So they check about your consistency during your academic years, as well as the subject choices reveal your analytical basis. I told you that if you have a technical subject at your graduation and then you have chosen a non-technical subject as your optional, so you will be asked and grilled over why you have chosen optional which does not align with your graduation. All right, or if you are changing your service. All right, suppose you are a doctor and now you want to be an administrator. So you will be asked questions about it as well. At the same time, the special achievements and distinctions, if you have any, and also the progression and the educational trajectory would be seen by the board. Now over here, you have to remember when you are filling this that you have to highlight distinctions and awards clearly. Now over here in this column, you will not be able to highlight your distinction and awards. That will be in another column. All right, that would be for another column. But when you are writing or you are going through this, just write any distinctions or awards that you had during your academics as well on a different piece of paper. I'll tell you where this another column is and where you will be able to input your awards and distinctions. All right, address any academic gap confidently if it is asked during your interview. Now what happens is if your percentages have been fallen consistently, at the same time if they have risen consistently, all right, so you will be able to, or you should be able to justify why the graph is falling down or why the graph is moving upwards. At the same time, all the entries must be verifiable and match the degree names with the certificate as well. That is very, very important that you have to see when you are filling up the educational qualifications. So over here you can see that we have 10th or equivalent. So whatever the grade or division or the class you had, that you have to fill over here. Then the percentage of marks, all right, so you have to fill. And if there was a CGPA, so you have to fill how much CGPA you got out of how much. All right, at the same time you have to fill in subjects. Please remember to write down all subjects, and these subjects, the list you will find in your mark sheet. All right, so there will be a mark sheet that you must have got for 10th, 12th as well as for your graduation. Just check the mark sheet and write down all the subjects that are there and write it down in complete. Like for example, do not write ing for English. So that is incorrect. Write English. So that is the correct way. All right, then the name of the school or college or institution that you have to write over here. and then the name of the board or university. In the same manner, you have to write it for 12th, then for your graduation. So whatever the stream of graduation that you had, suppose you had BTech, so write over here BTech, and then the examination that you have passed, then division and everything that I have mentioned in the first column that you have to write. Then the next column is about your higher education. If you are pursuing any post-graduation, you have already pursued post-graduation or equivalent examination, that you can write over here in the 5th column that is given over here. Alright, so this is very, very important. Now, after this 5th column, now you have written about the place where you have been born, your address, along with this, your parents' address, whether it is of your father, of your mother, and even where you completed or where you did your education qualifications. Alright, you completed your education qualification, whether it is 10th, 12th, or your graduation as well, or post-graduation. Now, afterwards, you have to fill which of, or having regard to the questions given against columns 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, which is the state, union, territory that you will like to consider or claim as your home state or UT. So that you have to fill over here. Alright. So these are the 6 columns, the first 6 columns. Now comes the most important aspect of your detailed application form, and that is the various particulars that you have to fill related to your achievements, your awards, your recognition, and also your hobbies and interests. So these are, as I say always, this region or this particular field that will be, exploring, and how you have to fill all these details, these are very, very important. Most important part of your DAF, from which you will find the questions that will be asked. Alright, now what the board is looking for here, the board is looking for when it comes to the responsibility and awards and recognition. So they are seeing the responsibility that you have taken and the roles which you have taken for fulfilling those responsibilities. Along with this, whether you have the leadership qualities and even for the teamwork, because when it comes to the civil services and for being an administrator, this is not a one-man army job. Alright, you are not a single person who will be responsible. It will be a complete team that will be working for the proper administration and for delivering the services to the people, to the public, and ultimately it is the consistent and teamwork effort that will lead to the achievement for being a good administrator. At the same time, they will be looking for the problem-solving experiences as well, whether you do have the capability to solve the problems when you were, when you were at any position of responsibility. You must have encountered certain problems and how you have solved those problems, and even public dealing and stakeholder management they would be looking for, and for the learning and the growth trajectory that the board will be looking forward when they see this column in your DAF. At the same time, when we are talking about the filling of this part, it is very important that you focus on roles and responsibilities and not the titles that you got. At the same time, avoid inflated and exaggerated claims, emphasize on what you have learned, quantify impact wherever possible, and show the progression in complexity. So these are the things that you have to remember, and the column where you have to mention hobbies and interest, it is most misunderstood, but it is the most important part of your DAF or the form that you will be filling. Over here, the board assesses your intellectual breadth and even your genuine interest apart from your studies and beyond the academics. So over here, it reveals your curiosity and even the intellectual breadth that you have. At the same time, can you speak with passion and depth about your hobby for about 10 minutes? It is very important. Because if you cannot speak about it, so that means your hobby is not authentic. So I have seen people who are, they just love to fake about their hobbies and interests when it comes to this part of the DAF. My genuine suggestion is, if you do not have hobby or interest, do not write. But if you have, please write. Alright. But at the same time, you must be aware about different questions that will be put to you because you have written a hobby or interest in the column. Alright, so faking is instantly detected, and my dear candidates, just remember one thing. The vivid experience that these people have, the board members have, you cannot fake anything. You cannot just go there and assume that, okay, whatever I'll say, they will believe what I'm saying in front of them. You have to remember they have vivid experience, they have very wide experience, and they know about a person just by looking at him or her. So it is very important, do not fake anything in front of them. Alright, and then what keeps you balanced, what drives you and your hobbies reveals your personality. So that is that the hobbies, they are emotional anchors, and that is what the board tries to understand by going through your hobbies and interests. And over here, very important thing is that choose only the real hobbies that you have. Now over here, what are the common mistakes we do while filling out the hobbies? Alright, do not write anything vague. Like for example, I am writing reading as a hobby. It is too vague. Now reading what? Reading which genre or which author? You have to be specific. Alright, so if you do not want to write authors or anything, you can write about genre. Whether it is sci-fi, it's fiction, it's mystery, it's thriller, or it's romantic. What kind of books do you prefer to read? So you have to be precise while filling out the hobbies section. Alright, at the same time, traveling. I've seen many people writing traveling. Traveling could be written only if it is meaningful. Alright, what are the hobbies? Let me tell you. This is basically a place where you have to write about hobbies and interests. Yes, traveling could be my interest, but it has to be meaningful. It has to be impactful. Where do I travel? Frequently. Why I travel there? Alright, what is the thing that I am learning by traveling to the different places? That I have to be able to express it and to tell that in front of the board if I'll be asked about it. At the same time, please remember the hobbies are something that you pursue in your free time. So people write, gym. Gym is actually not hobby. Alright, gym is actually a kind of activity that you are doing to remain fit. It is not a hobby. Hobby is something that you can do at any point of time. If you are free, you want your mind to be occupied at certain, I can say a creative work or at a certain productive work. So that is what constitutes a hobby. Remember this thing. Alright, then comes, I have seen people who have written like 7 to 8 hobbies because, what happens is there is misguidance that actually prevails in this digital world or the digital era that we are living in right now. So what happens is that people will say that write 7 to 8 hobbies. Alright. And ultimately when you are mentioning 7 to 8 hobbies, that shows that you are unrealistic. Nobody can have 7 to 8 hobbies. Maximum you can have 2 or 3 hobbies that you pursue whenever you are free. Like for example, my hobby is that I write poems. Alright. Along with this, I play guitar. Alright, that I do at my free point of time. And even I have keen interest in photography. So whenever I go for traveling, I photograph. I do wildlife photography, I do portrait, I do different kind of photographies. I am into different genre when it comes to photography. Alright, I have done wildlife photography as well. I did portraits for the marriages because I pursue photography as a hobby. So it was like a one-time project. I wanted to see how could portrait photography is done. And that is how your hobbies are. Alright, so photography is actually not my hobby, it's my interest. At the same time, my hobby is writing poems and even playing guitar. So you have to be genuine about hobbies. Alright, there have to be just 2 to 3 hobbies that you have to write, and they have to show depth and not the breadth. And also the board detects instantly if you fake any hobbies, and ultimately you do not want this because one question will expose the lack of depth. One question will, truly, it will make the board understand that you fake and you are not truthful, and ultimately that will have consequence on the marks that you will get during the personality test. Alright, so when we are talking about the hobby, it has to be a genuine hobby that you have to discuss. Again, the next thing is extracurricular and the achievements that you had. Over here, the board will see your initiative, that whether you have started something or you led something and that has made a kind of contribution that was beyond your requirement of the academics. The board will see your leadership potential, that is if there is any evidence of organizing, motivating and managing the teams, and even your social commitment where you have shown a genuine contribution to the community or the social causes. Over here, when you are writing anything about your extracurricular or the achievement, please remember to quantify your contribution. How many people have you reached? How many fund you have been able to raise if you were into a fundraiser, extracurricular activity. At the same time, mention tangible impact and the outcomes that you got because of these particular extracurricular activities. Avoid trivial awards and participation and focus on the sustained involvement and not one-time events where you have participated. So again, this is the most important part of your DAF. Alright, the prizes, medals and scholarship, etc. I told you, these are your academic achievements. Any academic achievements that you got, you will write over here. Any prize that you have got, alright, that you will write over here. Medals, scholarship as well. Then comes sports, NCC. So any sports achievements, or whether you have A certificate, B certificate or C certificate in NCC, that you will mention over here. Then position of distinction or leadership held at school or college. You were captain of football team, so that you will mention in the football or the sports region. Alright, but at the same time, that you will mention over here in the position of distinction or leadership as well. And like for example, you were school boy, school head boy or school head girl, that you will mention over here. Any distinctive leadership that you have shown during your college as well. Any position that you have held at the college as well, that you will mention over here. So this will find the mention here. Other extracurricular activities or interest and hobbies. So over here you will mention your hobbies and interest or the extracurricular activities that you have performed. Now over here, one more important thing that you have to keep in mind, that is the sequence of your different achievements that you are mentioning over here. The sequence should be from new to old. Alright, it should be from new to old and not from the old one to the new one. That is, the first mention would be about any achievement that I got in 2025, then in 2023, then in 2020, then in 2017 or 2016. So that should be the sequence, not the otherwise round. What I have seen people writing over here is that they write about 2017 first, then 2018, 2019, 2025. So you will not go from old to new, but you will go from new to old, and the new achievement that you had, new anything that you had in the sequence, that will be first and then second and then so on. Alright, also the sequence should be maintained. It should not be haphazard. Alright, you will not mention something that you have achieved in 2025, then in 2016, then 2020, then 2018. So, if you are mentioning like this, that shows that you do not have lack of clarity. So, that you have to keep in mind. So, this is very, very important. Alright, please remember this when you are filling this particular section of your, this particular section of your DF. Alright, like for example, scored how much percentile in JEE, then in 2014, then gold medal, shot put in 2017. So now you are seeing that it is going from old to new one. No, we will go from new to old. That is what you have to mention or you have to remember while you filling this particular segment. Next comes your service and cadre preferences. Alright, the first will be the cadre preferences, and let me tell you that the cadre preferences for IAS and for the IPS, you can fill different cadre preferences. Alright. Now, when we are talking about the service preferences, you have to fill the service preferences later on after the cadre preferences. Alright, so you have to understand each service, the career vision that you want to see the board want to see that you have a proper thoughtful long-term thinking that is aligned with the national priorities, and even you have to demonstrate over here a rational, even policy-oriented mindset rather than emotional attachments. And you have to avoid certain cliches, like I want to serve the nation, alright, and that is why I am joining IPS or I want to join IPS. So do not use certain kinds of or these cliches during your interview or personality interview. Alright, you have to be proper, rational, even policy-oriented mindset when you are replying to any answer related to your cadre or to your service preferences. So this is how you have to, or you will see that this is the order of preference. There will be two order of preference that will be asked in your cadre preferences, and this is the first one would be for your IAS. All right, for the IAS, whether you want to consider your home state, so you have already written your home state, so that will be over here. All right, like for example, my home state is Uttar Pradesh, so it will be over here written already, and it would be asked that as your home cadre, please write yes. All right, I am telling you why to write yes over here, because if you will write no, so then there would be certain services that you will be missed out if those services would be available in that particular home cadre. So that is why you have to write yes over here, so that you will have the benefit of those services later in your service. All right, now over here there are order of preferences. We have 5 zones, so you can write whichever zone that you want first, second, third and fourth and fifth, and then later on you have to arrange them. All right, you have to give them preferences. Like for example, we have 6 over here, so whatever the preference that you want, you can give the preference. Then again for the second zone we have 4, so we have to write just 4 preferences, and so on and so forth. You have to write, or you have to complete the cadre preferences over here. Like for example, you can see over here, all right, state home state Rajasthan, yes, and then the complete the zone preference has been given. Now over here one more thing that you have to remember is that if you are opting for home cadre as Rajasthan, so you have to see that okay, Rajasthan is over here, it will be number 1, and even the zone will be number 1. All right, and the rest of the zone you can on the basis of your choice, you can give it your own preferences. All right, then comes the cadre preferences. I have already told you about the cadre preferences. Then comes your service preferences. All right, so we have different services. You have to give the order of preferences. Again, you have to number it from 1 to the 21 services that are over here. All right, so now when you are filling the service preferences, let me tell you that if it is and for IAS, until you do not want to join Indian Administrative Services, because Indian Administrative Services have a highest merit when it comes to the UPSC civil services, so always give it first preference. All right, then the next preference depends upon you. You can give any preferences that you want, until and unless you do not want, because this is your choice, this is your preference, this is what you want. All right, probably there would be some of you who want to serve in the police uniform. They have a charm for the uniform. They want to join Indian Police Services. So then give the Indian Police Service your first preference. So that is what your choice are. But at the same time, let me tell you that fill the choice of preference for the Group A post and later on for the Group B. All right, fill the post preference for Group A. They should be higher in your order of preference, and then Group B can be the lower one in the service preferences. And again, this is your examination. You have cleared this examination, you have reached up to this level, and ultimately the choice rests upon you. This is only my suggestion. If you want to go for it, you can go for it, and if you have another choice or preference in your mind, that you can go for it as well. All right, now again comes the document upload. So always remember that the quality scans should be there for the documents. All right, whatever the document you are uploading, that have to be proper. It have to be clear, high resolution images for all the certificates and the uploads that you will be uploading with the DAF form. Along with this, you have to see that you have properly aligned the names of the file as per the procedure that has been or specified in the instruction that you have to follow. Along with this, you have to, when we are talking about DAF entry, every DAF entry must match or must have corresponding document proof with you when you are going for the interview. All right, and also when we are talking about the file size, so always remember that when we are uploading any file with the UPSC, there is a file size that is mentioned. Always need you always stay within that upload limit that have been specified, and if you want to, you can compress the file and then you can upload if the file size is larger than the limit that has been prescribed. All right, now over here, why this DAF is important? DAF fill ho gaya, DAF has been filled. Now the most important thing comes is, now you start preparing for your interview. All right, कहते हैं कि जितनी जल्दी आप शुरू करते हैं, ठीक है, जितनी जल्दी आप शुरू करते हैं उतने ही आपके जो खत्म करने के चांसेस हैं वो बढ़ जाते हैं, उतनी जल्दी आप खत्म कर पाते हैं और ऊंचे पायदान पे खत्म कर पाते हैं. Alright, so this is very important that when you have filled the DAF form, detailed application form, your preparation for the interview must start. Now you have to create your own personal interview guide. Now, अब ये कैसे होगा? How this will be done? Just keep 2 filled copies, print out of the DF, filled DF printouts in front of you. Now, prepare questions. Go through your personal information that you have supplied up to column 5. Alright, now prepare your personal questions. What is the meaning of your name? How your name originated? Who gave you this name? Alright, or how this name has been originated when it comes to the different grammar or the different languages, and even the cultural significance of the name, what your father background is. So anything that connects with the background. Like for example, my father was in Indian Army, and I was asked, and even I served in Indian Armed Forces. I was in National Defence Academy, and I was asked questions about armed forces as well. I was asked why we are still following the legacy. Alright, the question that I was asked was, I still remember that question, and that was that when we see army, we have different regiments, like for example, we have Jat, we have Maratha, we have Rajput. So I was asked that why we are still following the British legacy in the armed forces. Alright, so such type of questions will be based upon your personal information that you have supplied in the DEF. At the same time, after your personal questions, there would be questions related to the district. I was asked about Shillong, where the place I was born, not my home state. I was not asked about my home state. I was not asked about my home district as well. So please prepare the district questions very well. What is the history of that district, the issues that pertains with that district, whether it is geological, whether it is economic or political or sociological, and the demographics and the culture of that particular district. Then comes your graduation, the subject depth, application, and even the current trends. Like for example, you did your BTech in computer science. Now you will be asked about the artificial intelligence for sure, and that is my 100% guarantee that you will be asked about artificial intelligence in your UPSC interview. And then your hobby, the different depth as well as recent activities and connection that you have with the hobbies, and also your job experience, the challenges, learnings and achievements that you had during your job, and the cadre preference and the service preference as well, the state knowledge, rationale why you have chosen a particular cadre, and the service understanding as well as justification when it comes to the services. So all these things you have to keep in mind, and you have to prepare a complete questionnaire, and then you have to start reasoning, have a rational thinking, and start coming up with the answers that you will give to the board. So that is how you prepare for your interview. But at the same time, I am telling you over here that you have to do certain self-audit as well. This self-audit is that when you have filled your complete DF, you have to ask certain questions from you. That is, does your education support the narrative that you are representing in front of the board? At the same time, can I speak or can you speak passionately for your hobby for about 10 minutes? Passionately for your hobby. Alright? Are all your achievements, dates and designations verifiable? Can you verify them with the substantive, verified proofs, and any conflicting information that is there across different sections that you have filled in? Along with this, you have to ask yourself that does this DF, this is the most important question that you have to ask yourself, and you have to give the answer correctly. Alright? This is the most important question that you will have to ask, that does this DF that you have filled that reflect the kind of the officer I aspire to be? These are certain questions that you have to ask yourself after filling your DF form. Now over here, after you have filled the DF form, it is very important to have a proper interview guidance and to have a proper guidance by the trusted mentors, the trusted people who had been there. And therefore, at SRIRAM's IAS, we are offering you with free interview guidance, and for this you can register, and the registration is quite simple. What you need to do is you need to call us on this number, that is 9811489560. Let me repeat the number once again, 9811489560, or you can scan this QR code and register for the free interview guidance program at the SRIRAM's IAS, where you will be given a proper guidance, your proper thorough guidance will be given as far as your personality test or the interview at the UPSC is concerned. So that would be all in today's session, but do not forget to share this session or the video with those friends of yours who have qualified for the UPSC Civil Services personality test or the interview. And ultimately, we just wish to make that difference where you will be able to serve the nation in the same manner that you have thought while you were filling your online preliminary examination form. So that would be all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Best of luck for those who have qualified for the Civil Services 2025 in the mains examination and are appearing for the personality test. And at the same time, if you are preparing for the preliminary exam for the 2026, then also you can reach us out to us, and ultimately we will be happy to help you out in any problem, in any doubt that you are encountering. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and Jai Hind. Sayonara.